whakaronga ki oi ki te tangi out the manu e re runga rawe tui ai runga, tui ai raro, tui ai roto, tui ai waho, ka runga te pō, ka runga te ao, ti hei mauri. Kia ora tātou, nei rā te mihi ki a koutou, nā kaikaunihira, nā kaimahi, i roko i te whare nei, i te rorohiko, kei wara ki oto tahi hoki, nei anō te mihi ki a koutou. I nā hāpore ka mātakitaki mai, tēnā koutou hoki, mai tēnei komiti, tēnei hui I Kaikoura, tēnei te mihi ki a koutou. So just acknowledging everybody, our staff that are here, got the team in the room, which is really awesome. Got our virtual council chambers set up here in Kaikoura, and great to have the councillors here in the room, and of course the councillors online. Councillors Ward, Mackay and Cranwell, awesome to have you with us. And we've had a great couple of days up here, and really with a lot of biodiversity, biosecurity focus. So it's really awesome to be here. Akahurio tak whakaro ki ngā tini aitua, ko weatu ki te pō, e ngā mate o ia marae, o ia takiwā, o ia motu, haere atu rā. Apati hono tātou hono rātou ki a rātou, apati hono tātou hono tātou ki a tātou, tēnā koutou. He karakia timatanga o tātou nei hui. Whakataka te hau ki te uri, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai e hiaki ana te atakura, he teo, he hoka, he hau, ti hei. Hei, mauri ora. Kia ora koutou. Welcome to this meeting of the Biosecurity, Biodiversity Committee. It's really awesome to be here, like I said, in Kaikoura. And yeah, thanks again to our wonderful team that have come up to support us, and yeah, the councillors that are here for the last days, and been really well hosted by Ngāti Kuri and also the Kaikoura District Council. It's been really good, and of course our staff that work up here as well. So it's been a really cool couple of days. And Mihi to Councillor Burns, who put this idea together, I know with Councillor Ward and others late last year. So it's great to actually be here. So I think everyone agrees that it is a good thing to do. To get out into the region. So yeah, ngā mihi to everyone involved. And I've got a quorum, that's good. We've got 7 in the room and 3 online, so that's 10. So that's really good. We can carry on with our meeting. Oh yeah, true. And just some health and safety, and in the room here, some housekeeping. If there is a fire alarm, we can either go out that door and through there, or we can just go out this door here, and we meet over in the far corner of the car park just behind us, for those in the room. All good? If it's a tsunami, you can look. No, we can run up the hill. Yes, oh, straight up there. Good luck running. There's only one person who has luck, Craig, and it's not us. I've had it actually. I'll see it. If we feel an earthquake, you know, under the table, I'll probably go under the table. I think it's pretty good in here. Or go get outside, actually, probably a good idea. But no, just as that all, that's all I got there. Yes, thank you. Apologies. So we have a few. Councillor Scott and Councillor Karakia, of course, Councillor East, I think, and Councillor Dishay, not online at the moment. So
Councillor Dishay maybe
late, but
Councillor Sucknall as well. He's not well today.
True, yeah, Councillor Sucknall as well. Cool, thank you. And any conflicts of interest, I'm going to inform there's any. Has anyone got any with anything that's on the agenda? No. We've got no public forums, deputations or petitions, no extraordinary and urgent business, unless anyone's got any. And no notices of motion have been put forward. We go to 7.1 on page 8 of your agenda. That's our minutes from the committee meeting on the 8th of November. And I know there was a little bit of confusion around this with the on page 17, I think it is, around the minutes where the resolution around the biodiversity money got supported at committee, which was actually true, but when it got to council, it didn't. So just so people aren't confused about that, because that was in December when we met the council, but this was in November. So is everyone happy with the minutes? If so, is anyone willing to move the minutes? Okay, Councillor Ridge and seconded by Councillor First. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Great, carried.
It was a bit delayed.
And I'm assuming there was no discussion of that. But if there is, let me know. We'll go to 8.1, I think it is, the resolutions report, and that's on page 64. So there was quite a lot of stuff in the minutes because we had a few public forum at that last meeting, so there's quite a lot of stuff in the minutes. So we go to page 64, and that is our status report for the committee. Has anyone got any questions, clarification of the status report? They're all pretty self-explanatory. There's one in orange there, which is the biodiversity work, that strategy work that's going on at the moment. So that's in progress. That's orange, and there is a bit of an update that the biodiversity discovery event, which is in the chair's report later, is the invites have been sent out for that. So just so you know, I will get to that later. So if there's no questions and no discussion, does anyone like to move resolutions report? Resolution, Vicky? Cool. So that is that we note the status of the previous resolution provided in the Biodiversity and Biosecurity Committee resolution status report master seconded by Councillor Davies. Any discussion? No. All those in favour? Any against? All carried. Great. So we're going to go to 8.2 now, and that is on page 69. This is our Biodiversity and Biosecurity quarterly work program, and remember this is to December, yes, from October to December 2023. So I'll open this up now and hand over to Emma. Thank you.
Very good. So this is the quarter 2 report, which provides an update on the levels of service and the key initiatives. So it's the October to December period that this covers. And you can see an update there of the levels of service. They're on track, apart from one, which is orange, which is around the biodiversity strategy. But we do have an upcoming discovery event, and that will provide some clarity around the approach that we want to take to the refresh of that, which will in part address that target 13.2. Also in the quarter, one of the levels of service was achieved, and that was around sponsoring events in our regional parks with a focus on biodiversity and connecting with the community. We've had a whole range of different events in that 3 months, over 43 in total, which the community, 15 of which Environment Canterbury have directly supported. A lot of those around planting projects with community groups and corporates, sort of rubbish cleanup, and half of those have been in the Waimakere River Regional Park. So lots of utilisation of our parks there in support of biodiversity and recreation values. So just highlighting that as an achievement. Otherwise, I can take any questions. Okay.
Thank you, Emma. Just regarding target 16.3b on page 74, around the regional park strategy, staff are working to develop a regional park strategy that links to the 50-year land strategy. When do we expect councillors to be able to have a look at this strategy?
Because I put a question mark time frames on there when I was reading it through too, so I think we don't have the right start here to answer that, but okay, let's take that away. It did occur to me too that might be of interest.
Great, thank you.
Dale?
Well, I've just got a question on the financial analysis. It's great to see that we've got some more money coming in from the international visitor levy for the wildling conifers, which is great. Big lines amount of the money there, but the overspend, is that going to be tidied up as an over and under in the next reporting cycle, or is that actually a permanent over because it was an oversight?
I suggest Carl's online, he might be able to talk to that without any forewarning. Is that possible, Carl?
I do have to apologise. Sorry, I was doing two things at once. Then, could you just repeat the question for me?
No, I was just wondering whether in the financial analysis, the 300,000 or the 600 0.6 million overspend, is that going to be an over and under, so it'll balance itself out in the next quarter, or is this a permanent overspend because of some form of oversight that around the Banks Peninsula pest-free program?
I can speak to the one conifer portion of that, and that's it will be a permanent overspend to budget, but it'll be aligned with forecast. So the forecast has been adapted to allow for the IVR funding that was provided.
Okay. So just to clarify, has the forecast been amended from the last time we looked at we had a budget line item thing like we've got in this report?
Sorry, I can't speak to what you have in front of you at the moment. Yep.
That's fine. I'll follow that up. I just
follow that out.
Yeah.
There have been a 9+3 since this report was finished, so there may be a difference that's come in since then.
Yeah, I think I'll just when we look at it, I just want to make sure that we haven't moved the actual forecast budget, and the budget has stayed the same right throughout. So that's all. So if we can get a bit of clarity on that, because obviously I don't want us to be sort of changing budgets to sort of suit us throughout the year, which is kind of what I'm a little bit like, I'm not sure of. That's all.
And so the two figures there in the green box are both surpluses. So the one in the variance box, so it's a variance of 0.6, but it's both of those figures are surplus. So we're not.
That's surplus in spending, which is a deficit of budget spending.
But that might come right, as you say.
That's what I want to know.
I have another question. Just in the page 72, the chart at the top there is levels of service, suggesting that there are one level of service at risk. So we've got that on 13.2, and then it suggests there's another one. Am I right? Is there another one?
No, it's just level of service and level of service target.
Yeah,
Just slightly different.
Yeah, okay. On page.
The targets are the ones with the extra point.
Yeah.
Levels of service at the top headline, number 13. Yeah. So when there's one there, let that do. So it's just one. Cheers. But is there any other questions? Anyone online have a question? Or could anyone else in the room? Yeah, Jennifer.
It's about to push a button. I just feel like it's the first time I've seen the Department of Conservation's International Visitor Levy Fund being put towards something like wilding conifers. I just want a wee bit of clarity of what other projects that visitor levy might go to, really. I don't have any information on it. Or is it there? Like, am I missing something? There seems an awful lot to go to something like that. I mean, not that it's not warranted, but what other projects could it have gone to, or could it go to? Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, Carl would have been dealing with the MPI funding that's come through there in terms of the international visitor levy and where it's sourced from, where it goes.
Carl, you're able to help us?
Yeah, I wonder if that question is actually best put to DOC. I'm not aware of how they've used it in other areas myself, but it's possibly a good question to put to them. I know that there was obviously that they obviously benefit from the wild and conifer program themselves. So, but yeah, that might be a question for DOC.
I suppose the question is, Carl, how did we get the money?
Yeah.
So did we apply to it from DOC?
No, so we didn't get the money directly. So the money was provided to MPI as a part of the National Wild and Conifer Program, and through that National Wild and Conifer Program, it was prorated out to the regional councils that delivered on behalf of MPI in terms of the existing budget that was already created. We actually had to put up before it was confirmed, we had to put together a plan of how we could undertake that money in line with undertake the delivery using that money, giving consideration to the existing operational approach, which was maintenance plus. So when we put together the initial operational plan a year ago, we didn't just put together what we would deliver with the money that was available. We put together what we could have been delivering if we had the money we needed. So most of that program actually existed, and it made for an easy scalability of the existing program.
Yeah, I think I remember that now. I think I remember the one with the council.
We had a paper that put the additional money. Yeah, but it wasn't budgeted, so we kept it, but there was.
That is a good question, Genevieve, and maybe that is something we could know. So I've got 3 things to know, and maybe we could add that as another resolution to the main resolution, just so it gets picked up in the resolution report. So I'd propose that. So if we have the resolution that's been tabled, which is that we received the program report for quarter 2, 2023-2024 for the Biodiversity and Biosecurity portfolio. That's number 1, and then we have a number 2 that just says that staff follow up with us. With that staff follow up on the regional parks and land strategy. And that's one, so that could be a bullet point. The overspend budget question. And then third, the international visitor levy criteria, something like that.
Allocation.
We can just get a verbal update. Yeah, come back to this committee. It makes the most sense to bring it back to this committee.
Yes.
If it doesn't have to, if it gets done through a full council, that's fine. Then we can just note that at this next committee that was done through a briefing to all council. That's fine for so the regional parks and land strategy. Overspending. Sorry. How do you want to read that? What was it? What are you? The variance.
Variance. A lot of variance.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What do you want to?
The way I read it is that when they did the 3+9 forecast, somehow the History Banks Commission annual grant wasn't factored in.
Yeah, I just want to know whether we've actually changed the budget.
Yeah.
If the budget has been revised up.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted
just
to check for answering that. I think
Yeah.
I understand it, but I'd like to get clarity.
just put about just put budget variance. Just put that because B&B budget variance.
Yeah, that's a good catch-all. Yeah, I think I know what's happened, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Clarification, budget variance clarification.
Yeah, budget variance clarification. And then international visitor levy.
Maybe
criteria.
allocate.
Staff could ask that would help. That would be quite helpful.
Maybe excess amount of available or what?
Yeah, I think that'll help.
Yeah,
It'll
true.
come back to some.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
People are happy with that. You good? You happy? Happy? It's Joanna's.
Yeah.
All good. Cool.
I'll move it.
Oh, the next meeting would be good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The next meeting.
We can do that.
Yeah, you can put add or report.
So just next public meeting or this meeting?
Sorry, Joe. You can
I was going to move.
I'll second it.
And if that happens through another, it's fine as well. Still updated.
Yes.
All good. Like Joe, you have to move it.
Yeah.
You need to introduce it. All together, are we allowed to do this?
Substituted motion.
It's just do it. We do it.
Is that we probably to back to the biodiversity and biosecurity on the committee on the following at the following.
Yeah. I'll look at that. You got thanks. All good? Are we good with it?
Yeah.
For the second, oh, Genevieve, sorry.
We're all a bit uncareful.
Yeah. Any discussion on that? Anyone want to talk to? Not happy? Okay, put to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Yeah, online, all good? All carried.
Yep.
Yep, good, thank you. Okay, 8.3 is on page 77, and this is a report back on wetland construction and restoration consenting and all the Verity and Phil online. Introduced. And you remember, just so councillors remember, this follows briefing we had on this not too long ago about this topic. Yeah, over to you guys, if you can hear us.
Great, yes. Kia ora Council. I'm going to provide a brief introduction to the Wetland Construction and Restoration Consenting Report, but taking the substance of the report as read. So this paper addresses the barriers and the options to ensure that landowners are well supported to undertake wetland restoration and construction. Protecting and enhancing the region's wetlands is aligned with Environment Canterbury's strategic priority to take decisive action for healthy freshwater land and coastal ecosystems. At the last Biodiversity Biosecurity Committee meeting in November, the committee requested that staff analyse options for Environment Canterbury's wetland restoration and construction consenting processes to make them more enabling for farmers and landowners to undertake these projects, and also directing us to note the recommendations from the Managing Wetlands as Farm Assets final project report. So opportunities that were identified sit across varying levels. There's the opportunity to provide feedback and advocate for provisions supporting wetland restoration and construction at both the central government and regional levels as part of national and regional policy frameworks, as well as continuing to provide technical support and advice to landowners as recommended by the Managing Assets project report. More than happy to take any questions on the report.
Oh, very thank you. Have you got any questions from councillors on this one? Yeah, thanks, Becky.
Yeah, it's really good to see this, and I think the intentions are really important, and we've heard that repeatedly. I'm just interested really in the recommendation 2.1 and 2.2 really. It's sort of like, you know, if we're advocating, and this is to central government, do we have a sense of how likely we are to actually be able to get that as a change at the national level? What sort of, I know we'd sort of like through the fast track bill, perhaps that's something that might come out positive from that potentially. I'm just wondering what sort of timeframes and how much reliance do we have on that compared with what we can move through recommendation 3, which is at the regional level and is totally within our own control. So really sort of, yeah, how much of the good outcomes can we achieve through our own existing opportunities, and how much is dependent on us being successful with advocacy?
Is there something you can answer for Bill?
I might have a go at it. It's Olivia here from
We've got we can see you on our screens in front of us, but not on the big screen. If you just move.
Olivia, yeah, thanks. Didn't realise you were there. Thank you. That'd be great.
Squeeze up.
That's it. Thank you.
Always difficult to know how successful you're going to be advocating to government, but I would say that there are opportunities coming up soon. Government yesterday released a cabinet paper which set out some of the more detail around some of the upcoming RMA targeted amendments that they're looking at. And so there will be an opportunity in May to look at changes relating to significant natural areas, aquaculture, and provisions relating to Te Mana o Te Wai. But longer term, second bill later this year Scope of that's still to be defined a bit, but there may be opportunities later this year to advocate for some of these changes. The other thing is that they've still got their national direction program that they're looking at reviewing. So they've got the MPS changes, which are looking at a sort of 18 to 24 months. Right? And there may still be an opportunity through NES changes as well. So I think it's probably always best to take sort of a multi-pronged approach here, look at the opportunities centrally, but also look at those opportunities that are within our control as well through the regional plans.
That's great, thank you. So we just keep advice from you guys, and we'll make sure we know what we need to do as well.
Deal.
Yeah, hi, thanks for this paper. It's quite nice to sort of see it broken down the way it's broken down. Something that you brought back to us a couple of months back around, you know, the challenges, and then it's just sort of like, you know, this is where that's, you know, kind of come from. The one thing, I mean, I'm looking at what some of the things that we can do now, or more sort of immediately, under the sort of the plans that we've got to sort of make do with them, I suppose. But I was looking at point 31 in the report, got the setting the direction of the regional policy statement, which is cool, and impacting on the consenting costs at a district level, et cetera, et cetera. Is within that, is there any provision for us to do anything or change anything that we're doing now to support some of the consents that are potentially coming in, so they don't just sit in a black hole and circle around and kind of not get anywhere? Because that's one of the things that I've been hearing, particularly out and about, not extensively, but there are people out there who do want to put them in now, but are going through the regulatory circle mill, and it costs a lot. So yeah, I was just wondering if there was anything that you guys have thought about in the immediate sort of steps that we can do as well in that space.
Probably one for me, Councillor Swiggs. As you sort of outlined, we are bound by the excuse me, the provisions of the RMA. In saying that, I did get a little bit of advance warning, and I did have a quick look. We currently don't have any applications in process for wetlands. So I think it's more people that are thinking about it. Because I had a look and we haven't got any active applications currently being processed.
That's interesting.
From the data that I was able to pull, we've had 10 since 2016. And of those, 9 of them went through non-notified. 1 was limited notified to Runanga and subsequently withdrawn. So in terms of what we can do now, obviously we can offer them advice on how they might go about it and what they might need to do to prepare those good applications so that we can process them properly, and would invite anyone who's thinking of doing it to contact us, and we can give them an hour of pre-application advice free on what they might need to do. In terms of if they're trying to do it somewhere where we are in an open catchment or groundwater allocation zone and they're looking at taking water for those purposes, we do run into those notification issues that we spoke to you about at the full council, and that was highlighted in the paper. And there's nothing we can do about those without some sort of legislative change. But we're happy to have discussions with potential applicants, whether there's some way we might be able to mitigate those effects or address those in some other way. But without having, hard to give specifics.
Yeah, that's interesting that there's been such limited numbers. It's because I've heard, I mean, I've personally heard a lot of, you know, people frustrated, and I think it's obviously they just aren't going to the application stage. I'm only assuming, so I don't know. I'll ask more questions. But something that I was interested in is the Ashburton Linda's decision. Does that impact that High Court decision that we've just had within the last few days? Obviously, with constructed wetlands, there's a discharge. Does this impact that? Or does that decision impact on some of these? You might not be able to answer that question, and I'll respect it if you can't, but I was just interested to see if there was any impact.
We're still going through the full analysis, but probably in general terms, it's less likely that something like a constructed wetland would trip over the issues that decision has highlighted. So yes, we have to turn our mind to 107, which was the sixth decision. But in terms of a wetland itself, it's probably not going to be resulting in any of the preclusions that would prevent us granting that. Having said that, it's always a case by case assessment and would need to.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Really good. That's a good question to same as yours, Vicky. And your response to Olivia. Any other questions that Councillor said? Anyone online have a question? Yeah, look, I actually think this is a really good paper too, and I'm really glad that it's come to us, and there's some really good resolutions here for us to consider. I am wondering if, because I think the really important thing about your question, Vicky, is that, and I like Olivia's response, like I said, because I agree that the multi-pronged approach is the best. Look, you've got you've got the internal work we can do, but that external advocacy we can do. And I think at the moment, especially, what we're hearing is that there is some engagements with ministers coming up, and they are actually just doing their thing, not necessarily listening to their own officials, but they are listening to councils and others that are talking to them. So I think there's a really good opportunity for us to, if we pass these resolutions, then that can go into the mix for any submissions, any conversations that we're having with ministers as an official position of our council, which I think is really good. And that leads me to my question. I wonder, do we have to have a resolution here that recommends this to the full council? Even though this is committee of the whole, I get it. But I'm just asking, do we think we need an extra one that takes it to the next council meeting just so that it gets all councils endorsement that this is our position? Or is it enough that this committee of the whole agrees to it? You see my point? Are we allowed? Because we're basically agreeing to a position to get on this.
Yeah. I was going to say that the minutes will go to a council meeting anyway. So when that comes up, the chair could elaborate on that, or you could actually insert a fuller description within that.
Yeah, I mean, some staff might be able to. Whether we need an extra resolution that just says, and we recommend this to.
Yeah, I think
there are two sections of the terms of reference which I think cover it sufficiently.
Yeah.
The first is under specific responsibilities, number 4. Consider and provide strategic direction on emerging issues / opportunities relating to the biodiversity and biosecurity portfolio. And number 7, consider and where relevant, make submissions on regional, national and international developments, emerging issues and impacts and changes to legislative framework in relation to biodiversity and biosecurity. With regard to the implications for the council's environmental strategies, policies, plans, programs and initiatives and regulatory systems, processes.
I mean, is everyone sort of happy with that? I think so. I think it's a committee of the whole. Position is there, it goes to the full council meeting. And like you said, on that day, we could say, oh, we actually think this should be acknowledged or whatever.
Is this referring to everything or just the wetlands thing, or?
It's really about the advocacy, I think, in particular. But even number 3.
So.
Because we're saying staff should request changes to the regional planning framework, which has implications for the work that's currently.
No.
Yeah,
I guess that's all very well and good, but when something comes across, you come across something where you need a response really quickly, say like the extension of the aquaculture of 25 years, I think we need to be able to input into things like that, whereas it's often done at a organisation staffing level where we actually need oversight of what's going into that. So I think maybe a resolution so that that doesn't keep happening. That's my main concern, is that these submissions might go ahead without a little bit more to it. I don't know, I just,
Submissions, all submissions definitely go through either committee and full council.
not necessarily that one though. The 25-year extension was given a very short time frame. Yeah.
That's an exception.
Yeah, but it was I guess the week prior, it was highlighted as it was coming.
So, you know what I'm trying to say is that,
That one is going to go into a select committee process.
yeah,
That will be a full process around it. So I think there was a staff technical because of the 3-day thing and the knowledge that there would be.
yeah, okay.
This full and.
You get my drift.
But I know what you're saying.
I mean, I'm buy online, so I just go to Councillor Cott.
I'm quite happy with them as they are, Craig. I don't think that we need to go any further. I think the important one's probably 3, that we just are requesting the staff to progress the changes, and it's the message that we're giving them that they take that on board. So I'm happy with them exactly as they sit, and happy to move.
Yeah, I can, Dion and Claire, well, Claire can move it. Dion, did you ever know this discussion point, Dion, or do you want to speak to that?
It was Dion's initial resolution, so it's probably good for him to move.
Dion, you can move it and second it. There you go. Not happy with that. And did you have a question? Do you?
No, just discussion. Once.
Okay, well, yeah, so we're all happy with that move and second it. Do you want to speak to it, Dion? Or Claire?
No, I'm pretty good, I think.
Cool.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, Grant, are you?
Just a quick discussion, really following up on this idea of a multi-pronged approach. And it struck me that in addressing Dion's reference to item 31, where territorial authorities involved as well, let me think that some of these matters could actually be incorporated within the review of the Canterbury Biodiversity Strategy, and they become part of the memorandum of understanding of how that might operate. And potentially, if you've got a good rapport with the champions group, who are representatives of district councils, then that shouldn't be a difficult exercise to overcome.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think the RPS is specifically mentions obviously for that. Well, I think number 3 alludes to, but you're right. Then we are in the middle of that biodiversity strategy process, so that could definitely fit into that as well. So it's good. All good. Oh, Mihi?
Yeah, just a comment really, just looking at those first 2 resolution recommendations, which is for advocating. There's sort of, I'm just thinking in terms of the question about should it go through to full council or not. Those are going to sit on our resolution status until such time as really, I mean, it will sit there for quite some number of years in progress, isn't it? And the way it's worded, which is a really good thing because it will just keep reminding us. And wetlands are so important. We've lost so many, and they're so beneficial that, you know, I'm just sort of looking at it and going, at least 24 months, if that's the sort of timeframes that we're seeing opportunities through now, it's going to sit there being this is what we're doing. Whereas the requesting stuff on 3 for our own thing, that's like clear cut. You know, we're signalling its significance, signaling it's important. We'll enact that in the best way we can through our own work. But you know, those resolutions will be, I think, really powerful sitting there on our books for a long time to come.
So I think we'll put it to this. I'll just say that, and your question was really good, I think, Dion, too. And I think what I pick up is that some of those consents that we've heard about are stormwater basin consents, not just wetlands.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things.
People do wetlands for stormwater treatment, but mostly it's stormwater basins. But they still go below the water table level. That's hence
that opens up another problem.
Yeah, but so it was really good to get that information from Phil about how many there actually have been and all that. But also we know people are probably out there thinking about it. But hopefully this paper and this work that will come from it will help. So I think it's really good. And so yeah, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Gary, thank you. That's awesome. Move on to 8.4, which is the credit system submission. And this was late last year, bringing this to the public. Just to highlight that this work and the work is obviously ongoing as well. And is it?
Yes, that's me. As the Chair said, last November, MEC released a discussion document, Helping Nature and People Thrive, exploring a biodiversity credit system for Aotearoa New Zealand. And as the council, we made a submission on that, which was submitted on the 10th of November. So this report is really noting that, and the submission is attached to the report. Just for out of interest, it was a discussion document that was widely submitted on, and we can see from the website that across the farming industry, Federated Farmers, New Zealand, Dairy NZ submitted, as well as other organisations like EDS, Forest and Bird, Transpower, New Zealand Planning Institute. So quite widely submitted. Te Uru Kahika also submitted, and their submission was supported by 15 of the regional councils. And we understand that we're not aware of any individual runanga submitting, but do understand that Toronto and Naitahu made a high level submission on the discussion document as well. So the paper just, sort of presents the key points on the submission, and with the full submission attached to the
paper. Was there any TLAs that submitted?
We understand that they did, yes. So the information we've got that some of the TAs also submitted. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Anyone got any other questions about this? No, everyone's pretty happy. No one's got any questions, any discussion points that people want to raise? I think it's all pretty self-explanatory there. You can see that our submission, overall quite a lot of support, but we did put a few caveats on some of those proposals that was in there. So that's good that we sort of put back on a few things. And we'll see how this goes. Obviously, it's with who was it?
It's with
MFE.
So we'll provide any updates.
Resolution. Cool. So no questions, Ideal?
No, actually, no. It's not a question. It's more of a statement. So.
Cool. All right. Well, does anyone would like to move the resolutions? Vicky, happy to move. Anyone?
I'll second it.
Cool. Thanks, Councillor Ward. Nick. So I move and seconded. Do you want to speak to that at all, you guys?
Yeah. I was just going to.
You have a question or
a statement? Right now.
We'll go to Vicky first if she wants to speak.
Oh, is it that way round? I thought it was.
No, I'll
statement first and then
Right.
Okay. So, got you. So really just to say, it's really pleasing to see this. I think the opportunity to bring in funds from sort of philanthropic private sector and so on and work collaboratively in a sort of strategic way is we need more funding for biodiversity. It looks like a great opportunity, including potentially bringing in overseas income for biodiversity improvement as well. So no, it's great to see, and great to see our very positive, constructive submission, and look forward to hearing how things progress.
Councillor Ward, do you want to speak to it?
No, I'm all good, thanks.
Okay, Deal?
Yeah, I was just, I didn't have any questions. I thought it was a really good submission. On the whole, I just wanted to sort of say that in point 8 on the submission that I kind of didn't necessarily, as a personal level, didn't agree with what was said. But as a whole, I agree with the direction that we've gone. I just think there was opportunities. I think there was possible opportunities with what they were proposing in point 8. If it was pitched in the right direction, because I do believe that the development community is part of the solution, and the development community does have a lot of ability to create and offset some of the biodiversity problems that we're starting to create or starting to see, because all of the developments that we live in have impacts. So I just thought that that was something that I just wanted to personally raise in this, but on a whole, I think the paper was really well written and on the right direction, in my opinion.
Anyone get it?
Yeah, I know there was, I think there's something like this in the Waimakariri district plan, proposed plan anyway, that they had this idea of credits for offsetting. But there was potential, well, at one time there was potential perverse outcomes by clearing a bit of existing indigenous bush, putting a house up and then putting credits somewhere else. So, you know, it's the swap and what is the ecological value that's being lost versus the time frame of ecological gain. And I presume somewhere in the picture that might be assessed, but it was potentially, depending on the scale of it, could be significant and a bit of a worry.
Good comment. I know that offsetting, ecological offsetting has already been used actually in the resource consent process. It happens with some applications that I've heard of, and where ecological support in by an applicant to assess biodiversity impacts and then suggest, but because that's a mitigation thing under the RMA, that you can do that, you can mitigate impacts. So it does happen, but yeah, not everyone agrees with it because it can have those impacts, like Grant is saying, where you've got something that's a remnant piece of vegetation or whatever that's taken thousands of years to get to its point, and then you can't just grow that back really quickly. Although in some cases a community might agree that if that was only half a hectare and the applicant is going to plant back 100 hectares, they might go, actually, we might take that. That could happen, but I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that could happen even in a reasonable consent today. If those submitters on a hearing, on a consent agreed with that during the process. So I think what Leo said is right. There could be scope for this, but that's okay. It's already, we didn't support it, so it was already in the proposal. So the government will already be. So that will be played out in the process. So yeah, so really, I think it is a positive thing. I believe, like beyond that, the development contribution to biodiversity is an untapped area. And I think it is really the key or part of the solution for biodiversity going forward, that everybody is on the same page. And that's why I really like what was in the NBA, the Natural Built Environment Act, around the outcome focus for that legislation, as well as the effects-based part of it, where developers, as they were applying for resource consents, would mandatorily have to be proving how they were going to try and meet outcomes, which could include biodiversity outcomes if that was in the region of 30. I think that is a real part of the future that we should be looking at. That will come through the next steps in this process that will get some more support, because I think it's a good thing. So yeah, we've got movement secondary. We've had a bit of a discussion, so we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Excuse me. Carry. On to 8.5. We're doing pretty good. Get home to Christchurch before it gets dark. Not that that's a worry, because it's actually beautiful up here. So 8.5 is the report from the chair, and I'll take it as read that there's things in there around the Biodiversity Champions meeting, which was last Monday, that I attended. That was quite well attended by councillors from around the region. Can't remember the exact numbers, but it was pretty well attended on both online and in the room. We also have staff at that meeting from each council. Again, not everyone was there, but there was a good representation. And we obviously talked about the biodiversity strategy work that's coming up, the Discovery event. There's a biodiversity stock taking stuff that we're doing that we didn't quite get to finish, but that's coming. And that's going to be presented to the Mural Forum. And we talked about a potential paper, and the committee, or the champions, gave myself and Alex the ability to finish that paper off with their feedback and get that to the Mural Forum, I think, in May. Some Mural Forum coming up. And also we talked about the NPSIB, the SNA stuff that had happened over the last few weeks. But there was a good agreement in the room. Some district councils have already done their BCNA processes anyway, emergency council down there, right down the track, they've already had it in the district plans, etc. And everyone agreed that, supporting landowners is the most important thing anyway, whether they're on a map or not. The fact that landowners are supported to protect them is the most important. So that was good. And so there was good discussion. You have a range of views, of course, around our region on these issues, but everyone in the room, that was really good. Nick, you might want to speak to the Whakakapi Regional Park meeting or event that you went to.
Yep, yeah, I can do that. So there was quite a considerable area of wilding conifers, and they've been removed. And then the committee who sort of looks after that, they were a little bit concerned about how rough the area was left and how some of the tracks hadn't been reinstated. So we've had a meeting, and there's been conversation with a local contractor, and as I understand, those tracks are going to be remedied back to their former condition that they were before the removal of the wilding pines occurred.
Cool, thanks, Nick. And I know if there was any representatives that are in the room that were at the Biosecurity Advisory Group meetings that are listed, if you want to speak with them, you're more than welcome. Okay.
Just a question to Nick. Nick, once the pines in that environment, they were put in as soil conservation sort of method, if you like. Is the ground being, say, quickly seeded with silver tussock or indigenous grasses just to try to get some cover quickly?
Yeah, once it's tidied up in some areas, they were going to respray some areas this autumn. If we've had some rain, we've had some rain. So if any other wilding pines strike, and then they were going to go ahead and have a planting program after that along those lines.
Good, thanks.
The park is mostly pine though, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, a fair percentage of it.
That'll relate to that regional park strategy. That we'll get some comment on. Sorry, it's been, and then we'll know.
Yeah, just question of you, Nick. Who pays?
That's a very good question. I'll need to find out a bit more. I think it was going to be sort of the committee or the trust that manages it. They have quite a reasonable amount of money, so they were going to put a fair proportionate forward because they're passionate to restore those the tracks and do some planting. But also ECAM was and I need to get some clarification around that. I think we're going to come to the floor as well.
Nope. Sorry.
Carl?
I might have asked a hard question.
I could probably jump in there. So at this stage, the ratepayer is paying for the majority. We do have some funds that are coming in through the trusts. The trusts primarily funding source is actually from the Camper Van Association. So on the land, which is an area that we also manage, but the funding goes to them. So it sort of comes back around to us. A little bit of funding is coming in from the National Wild and Conifer Program as well to cover off some of the spraying, which was just done in the area that was, we removed the contorta, which was one of the most highly invasive species, and at this present point in time we're looking to commence planting of that area this planting season. So it's all running pretty well. There were a couple of tracks that didn't go back exactly the way we intended. The team are working with the local community groups and tidying those up at the moment.
And is that just within existing work program budgets?
Yes, yeah, it's within existing budgets. Yeah.
I think Greg said to me yesterday that regional parks have their own rating.
Yes, yeah, I just was wondering if it was something extra that was getting put in. But
a little bit as Carl. Nick, you got another question?
Just a wee statement. There was also discussion that day about, as Carl's just alluded to, there's a caravan park in there, and that land is actually on Lynn's land, and they've been trying to secure a long-term lease, and so that's in the pipeline as well.
Cool, thanks, Nick. Anyone else got a comment or question? Pretty good stuff. Thanks so much, Nick, for your work down there. We appreciate it, and I know that's a real passion of yours, so thank you. So yeah, just if you go to the bottom of the paper there, there's a few things coming up, as I've noted earlier. The discovery session for the biodiversity strategy is on the 10th of April, and the invites went out last week. To all the previous signatories of the strategy, as well as other interested partners, we're calling them. And then also to the 10th of Te Rurunanga and Te Rurunanga Wanaito. Te Rurunanga Wanaito was a signatory last time, but the Rurunanga weren't, because the 10 years ago it was a little bit different with the way things are structured, but all the Rurunanga have been invited as well. So that's good, and we look forward to that happening. You can see there's a Wallaby coordination group meeting, and then the ministers are coming down in April as well. I think, are you going to that, Nick? Or is Peter going? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll be here for that. Now that's changed a wee bit. I think one of those ministers can't Tama can't come down, so we're hoping to bring Minister Andrew Highgard forward and have them here both at the same time.
Cool. Great, thank you. Sweet, and that's all to note on that. And there is a resolution, if anyone wants to move that. You received the report. Dion's happy to move it. Anyone happy to second it? Reg, thank you. There's no discussion. Those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Great, that's carried. That's the end of the meeting pretty much. Next meeting is the 5th of June, Wednesday the 5th of June. In Australia. No, I'm joking. And I'll just do so yes, first of all, just thanks again to everyone for making it possible to have our meeting up here in Whakatau for the last few days. Acknowledging Greg again for that impetus. And yeah, just thanks to all the staff for supporting that to make it happen, and our hosts again, the Rurunanga District Council up here. Yeah, and safe travels to everyone on their way home. Please drive safe, don't speed and stuff, and yeah, get home, and we'll see you next week. So he Karakia whakamutinga o tātou nei hui, kia tau, nā manakitanga o nā mea karo ki runga ki tēnā o tātou, kua mahia te hua makihiki, kia toa te reo, kia toa te mana, kia toa te aroha, tūturu whakamoa kia tīna, tau kia.